In this lesson, we're going to look at creating fake reflections using our normal passes and also different ways of creating rim lights, whether it's Fresnel or using our normals. So let's get started. Let's go into our robot now, and we're going to create the illusion that the text that should be on the right side is being reflected on our robot, since that was one of the notes that we got. So let's take the normals for our robot right here, place him right above the reflection, and let's color code our relights. This is going to be robot chip relight, and then this is going to be our normals, and pre-compose it, then pre-compose it and call it robot underscore fake reflection. Again, set it to red. Let's go here. And to create fake reflections, we usually need an environment map or also an HDR. And environment maps usually come in what is called a lat-long format, which is an aspect ratio of 2:1. Since we don't have that, we're going to have to create one. So let's take our environment RGBA here. Let's pre-compose it and call it environment underscore reflection map. Then what we're going to do is let's turn it off, go inside here, and then we're going to set it to an aspect ratio of 2.2 by 1. We're going to set this to an aspect ratio of 2 by 1. So it's going to end up being 1440 by 720. And you can see right here, aspect ratio 2 by 1. So let's create a new solid here. Have it be the same color as that blue. And then take this guy and squeeze it. And let's add a bit more saturation on that orange. So it kind of matches what we were doing on the actual build comp. The reason why we're not using the build comp is because we don't want After Effects to be calculating all of this. So let's just do it really quick, just using these tools. That's about really close to the kind of orange we had. All right, so let's go back here, and now we're going to be applying normality. For normality, we're going to be turning off the shading, and we're going to enable this option called reflection. Now we tell it what environment map to use, and we'll be getting a rough representation of a fake reflection there. So let me go back here, and if you move this, you will see the reflection kind of getting mapped around the normals. So the settings that I was using when I did this originally is going to be here, the Fresnel. It's going to give us a more believable effect for our reflection. So let's set this to 0.31, and you can see how we're already creating a pretty convincing reflection, in my opinion, almost like a Fresnel. So then, almost like a friend, like the name says, it's going to be very similar to a Fresnel from a CG program. And like the name says, it's going to be very similar to what a Fresnel looks like from a 3D application. So let's increase our reflection here, 2.33, so it's more noticeable, and let's turn on this blur setting. That's going to help us a lot, since we don't want to see all those sharp details in the image, just kind of a rough idea of where our reflection should be. And then, if you remember, let's turn on this pre-blur to avoid any anti-aliasing. Actually, let's do 0.5. And another thing is that the text is on the right side, but right now it's showing up on the left side. So for that, let's invert our X and then our Y, and you will see our text showing up right here. And then also, do not forget to ampere multiply right before the normality. And then let's also do not forget to apply our occlusion path. Set to multiply. And then we're going to do two more things, and that is taking two mats, the mat for the refract and mat for the black plastic, adding a fill effect to that because we don't want the reflection showing up so much on these areas. So we're gonna set them to black, black here, and set both to 50%. 65. And then if we go here and set this guy to add, you will see how we are creating some pretty convincing reflections right here. And if we go even to our main comp, let's delete all these markers since we don't need them. And let's wait a few seconds till this finishes calculating, and there you go. And we're having a problem with an edge, and I'm pretty sure that it's coming from our AO not being unpremultiplied. Let's go again. We might need to turn off the premultiplication on the normals and also on the AO. There we go. That fixed it. So you can see here that reflection from the robot. I'm sorry, the reflection from the text. Pretty convincing. If we were to go here and turn it off, back on, and again, like we've been doing many times, let's lower the opacity on that and let's make it 50%. And then we'll also be animating this, but we'll do that in between the lessons since that's not really important right now. Let's move on to creating rim lights, specifically for, let's turn it off in the meantime, the first half of the animation, since that one has a bit more contrast lighting. So let's talk about the Fresnel pass here. Let's take the Fresnel from our render passes, pre-composite, call it robot underscore Fresnel. And the Fresnel it's also called phasing ratio in other programs. So for that, let's mix that with what we've been doing, an AO pass. Since we don't want the Fresnel to be showing up in areas that are occluded, let's take that, let's maximize this, and let's move it to where it should be. If we take this guy and place it right there, then what we're going to do is we're going to be doing a slight color correction to it, just to give it a bluish, nice bluish tint, and also to be clipping some of those, to be crushing some of those white areas in there. So let's do our levels. Let's set this to, so we are crushing some of those blacks. There we go. Now let's add a bit of color. Maybe tweak, should we tweak it? Let's try another way. In this way, it's going to be by using a 4-color gradient. So instead of using the basic colors that obviously come with it, we're going to be using something that's very similar to the colors on the scene. So let's take this. Let's take some of that light blue in there. Maybe some of that light yellowish tint. Paste that in there. Let's take a bit of the purple that we have on the scene. And finally, let's take a stronger orange. There we go. And then what we're going to do is save that to a soft light. And we're getting some nice contrast between warm colors and cool colors. Finally, we're going to take this and set it to an add. Then we're going to be getting some really nice fake rim reflections or rim highlights, whatever you want to call it, on our robot. And it really helps enhance these areas, especially here, on and off. Great. All right, so this was a look at how to use So this was a look at how to create fake reflections using our normals in After Effects, and also how to use the Fresnel pass to create a cheap and fast rim light.